There you go.
I guess we'll find out because I don't know. Cash money. Watch out for him on the field.
It's going to be exciting. Leaf, thank you so much as always. Welcome in everybody to what should be an exciting best of five. Remember, all these early matches are best of fives, and then we move on to the brackets. Best of seven situation, Oxygen, Quadrant, Turtle. You know what? If there was ever a time to decide who's the best in their group, I think this matchup might do it.
Oh, absolutely. You know, how much do you want me to be wrong? How much do you believe in this Quadrant roster? Okay, you really want me to be wrong? Decent amount. You know, and I have to give it to you. I think that Quadrant, a lot of people in the last split were, you know, putting too much disrespect on their name. I think that people would see them in the competition and maybe not put the proper respect to take down dubs against top-tier teams. I think they have leveled the playing field more and now have gained a lot more respect in the region. They've been taking a lot of these top dogs down, and you know, whether it's group stages or Swiss stages. But just up against Oxygen, I can't see it happen, Spaceman. I don't want to be that guy, but I can't see it happen. These guys are too consistent.
It is absolutely worth noting that that on the other side of the field that Rise is playing currently with, I believe, whether it's a fractured wrist or a sprained wrist, one of the two. I think the MJ game is definitely a potential. Look, are we going to get it here? Maybe not. But it is worth noting as well, Cash, you'll see him on your screen with an elongated name. Regardless, both these teams, again, sitting at 1 and 2 respectively in their group. You win this, you change the game differential for sure. Regardless, off the opening minute 30, not much has happened. Very little fanfare, no goals scored, but Cash trying to change things and begins the diatribe downfield, but very quickly it's denied through the corner. And the contest has really kind of been the big thing for Oxygen. They've gotten better at the contest game at midfield. And if they can keep that up in this series, they have a very good chance, Turtle.
Yeah, and those better challenges like we just saw there from Archie is allowing them to move forward with those touches from Jorius. But you're right. I mean, this is an interesting game from Rise. We'll see how that affects him. You know, we had the MJ flu game. This is the Rise broken wrist game. And we'll see how that affects him. So far, it doesn't look to be plaguing them whatsoever because he got a player like Jorius who can put some shots off the backboard like that.
I mean, he's blossomed into his own right consistently whenever he was back on Dignitas, and as he's continued to progress his game, I think this is a nice trio for him to be working around. We've had a lot of expectations looking at just Oxygen as a whole, as a roster coming into this season. They've lived up to some, but maybe not all. We are looking for a championship caliber team at the end of the day. Ixo will clear the back line very quickly, but it's still Rise who takes it off his own side of the field, and you can never count out one of the most deadly strikers when it comes to clutch time in the league, as Rise was hunting off the backboard, but very quickly read. You don't want to give up too much. And on the other side for Quadrant, they have their work cut out for them as this offense has been relentless.
Oh, Jory is nice 50-50. About to build something in front of the net. And potentially a threatening shot comes through for Oxygen, but quickly is Cash to deny this. And so far, it has just been Oxygen looking to plant a siege in the half of Quadrant, slowly wind down their boots, take away a lot of 50-50s, take away possession at that, and just wait for one mistake to come out. But with a transition like that from relating wave, you got to make sure you get back on time. A double commit too is going to leave some space for Quadrant. Let's see what they do with it. Try to set it off the backboard. It's not the most well thought out plan, but still in charge and with possession is Quadrant. And finally the follow through comes out. But Rise, what a save and what a rotation to keep it away.
Ooh, it started with a 3-man hit, and it was a threat through regardless, but the ball still somehow careens around towards the opposite corner, and
still there.
A save that comes out of nowhere. A big pinch. Rise with 2 saves back-to-back. The wrist means nothing. He's got all his fingers. Catch from the ceiling. Reset around. Rise, 3rd save in a row. Give him all 3. The Hydra working in net by his lonesome as Archie clears way. The demo leads to a power play for the moment defensively, but with 1:20 to go, you got to think at some point the ball will fall, and Quadrant is still pressing.
Yeah, and this is the Quadrant, like I said, that earned some respect recently. Able to put on a crazy amount of offense, crazy barrage of shots, but the saves were just that much better from Oxygen. It was still a good look from Quadrant, and they are getting out of their own half quickly here as we approach the final minute.
And that's a nice clear to midfield, but Rise still continuing to cut down, and he's been able to grab that boost and move upfield with it as well. You got 2 pushed up, 1 on the island. It's Archie getting the call, and he'll leave it to Relating Wave on the backboard, but you expect the pressure to continue here if you are on the other side. As Cash and company are looking for the clear. Quadrant very much struggling to find possession. Challenge after challenge. Archie with the win. It's sent it off the backboard, no threat. You're going to have another one pushed up. It's Rise now playing it low to the ground. Will have to move through that 50 to get it out centered. He will. Relating Wave clears it for the moment. Quadrant do breathe. It's Iso leading downfield. He finds a touch, followed up by Cash. The win on the 50, and Rise will slow it. He'll get possession. Into the blue half we go.
Oh, but he didn't grab the boost. I do believe somebody from Quadrant did end up stealing it. And this is where we go back the other way. It's been You know, both teams taking turns as to who can hold the most possession. Ixo looking for the flip reset. It did look like he found it, but ultimately denied by Oxygen. 5 seconds to go. Both teams looking for a miracle, unless we might get sent to OT. This ball is going to hit the ground, and into overtime we go.
Everybody's sweating over their channel points right now, and I do not blame them. But not a single goal scored here in game one to start. Rise very off the kickoff early towards the backboard. And you'll see that consistent pressure. As soon as they meet three, they're going to throw it downfield, as we see now. The low drop, and Rise was ready.
I like that speed from Cash, but the shot not as powerful as I'm sure he had hoped it would be. And Rise able to take a piece out of the defender, block his rotation to the ball, and secure a goal.
I mean, he just leaves it on a park bus, and Jorius comes up for the extension. Rise a piece, just enough. It's a 1-0 win, and in the end, that's all you need if you're Oxygen. I mean, that midfield pressure was there all game, but finally it converts. And I think that's the important takeaway for game one, Turtle, is that even in crunch time, they had that locked down at midfield.
Oh, 100%. And that was such a difficult save, too, for Ixo, but just got smacked out the way. And I agree. I definitely think the midfield presence was stronger from Oxygen, but there were still good looks from Quadrant. It started out, and I'm thinking, okay, this is probably going to be a dominant performance from Oxygen, but Quadrant were able to get big clears down the other side. And you'll think back to the beginning of that game where Oxygen were forced to get saves like that you just witnessed on your screen. Last second saves coming through, rotating in. And I know that this game has been crazy, but Leaf, what else is going on?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's just kind of... I'm really not putting a lot of weight into game ones right now, just because, you know, we've seen, again, look at the fact that we have going up to Carmine Court got reverse swept. Then went up against him game 5. Just a lot of those doesn't mean much. But right now, we have most of the results you'd kind of expect, although Vitality has taken out Team Liquid. Liquid's trying to secure themselves top seed in that. So losing to Vitality and then some other results can change that. But they definitely want the win on that. But that's the one I've kind of had my eye on.
I mean, if you ever wanted a scarier day in Europe, this is probably going to be it. This is going to be one of those days where you're very much hoping it doesn't come down to game differential, whether it's a head-to-head that eventually spells your fate. We don't want that, but that's why you come in and you win your matches. You have to win through your group, and if you do so, you're probably very happy with how today's going to go.
Gibbs and Direct working overtime just to figure out what is going on, how to break down these tiebreakers. It's always going to be confusing, and it's always, of course, in Rocket League going to come down to the last second, the last potential stat, maybe the last game win. This game always likes to keep things close and keep it entertaining, but into game 2 we go, and as Leaf said, game 1, it's not going to tell the whole story. It could definitely be an appetizer, but the main meal might taste a little bit different. We'll see if Quadrant can somehow bounce back after a difficult loss in game 1.
And it was a bit of a natural spread in game 1. The creativity on the shots was certainly there for Quadrant. They just didn't have the spacing maybe they're so used to and accustomed to so far in the European regional side of things. But again, about a minute burn in the opening part of this game. Like we saw in game 1, very similar. The harmonies are there, just not a lot of goals so far in this best of 5. Only one that's been across the board, but a long clear and a booming one at that as we send it right back the other way.
Ooh.
We'll try to thread it downfield, but Rise will get the corner grab, and with that, resources are now here for Oxygen. They'll begin their attack upfield, but they're going to have to deal with the defensive work we've seen out of Relating Wave and Ixo.
Yeah, here comes that midfield presence. Again, that was a difficult touch from Cash. I'm not really sure what he was aiming to do. He's in this corner. He has 50 boost to his name. The pinch comes out from Archie, and Cash just puts it in reverse, but nice. You don't even want to go for a touch there. That's a very awkward one.
It just don't make no sense.
Make any sense, man.
Doesn't make any sense. 1-0 so far. Oxygen very quickly on the board. And those are the kind of mistakes you can't make if you're playing against a team like Archie, a team like Rise, and of course Jorius all together. Just disgusting across the board.
It might be the panic too. I mean, you're looking at this midfield presence where you can't get a clear out, and you think that you have to get a touch right away, Spaceman. So you hit in reverse, you don't get the touch that you wanted, and it's a free one to Oxygen. Which I thought game 1, it could have quite literally gone anyway. It looked like a coin flip, but this one looking more and more dominant.
And it's much more maybe just the fact of a game 1 being a game 1 inherently, intrinsically with how these things tend to work out. But if you're going into the length of a series against shooters like, of course, Rise, and I don't care what Jorius has up his sleeve on any given day, he's going to be a threat. You're going to have to deal with those small mistakes. Jorius just missed. Why is it every time I'm hyping up a player, they do something weird?
Listen,
Relating Wave gets it over him.
You can't just curse him like that, Spaceman. This is a painful one, too. We just saw a big miss on the Quadrant backboard, and this one, a huge miss on the Oxygen half. This was grounded. And I think Jorius side flipped. He had boost. 2 big mistakes, and I guess we're back to all tied up. nothing happened, basically. We can just erase that from our memory.
If I have this kind of power, I'm gonna manipulate it so chat freaks out and they're like, oh my God, my channel points. And I'm like, haha, nerds. I got you where I want you.
You had predictions, man. If you have that power, you should just try and make yourself look like, 400 IQ over you.
What I would really like to see is cohesive Rocket League. Now that's what I put out into the world, and all of a sudden, boom, we get it. But I mean, so far, if you're going back to baseline here, Turtle, it's tied 1-1. Both teams have made defensive mistakes. That is a positive takeaway, knowing that you have about 2 minutes to play with, and there's a lot on the clock for you to find.
Yeah, and the story of this game has been more possession for Oxygen, but better counterattacks out of Quadrant. They look to be much more lethal whenever they go for clears. They've got a player usually lurking downfield. Meanwhile, Oxygen are just trying to set up a lot of this possession and wait for a mistake. Ooh, there's an opportunity that goes a little bit sideways for Quadrant. But this is the first bit of possession that's strung together for them and quickly denied, I wanted to say, but actually Quadrant won that challenge, and yet there it is, quickly turned around for Oxygen.
And Joreus is more than happy to leave Rise as kind of the lone man out once that ball does escape upfield. They're going coast to coast here, but Joreus will have to fall back. And Cash looking for the double tap. It's a commit, but still possession through the corner and fighting for it in traffic. Ixo low touch. Cash at midfield. Archie bumping him off the play. Nobody really getting physical other than a couple of side swipes, but even looking there, you're expecting maybe a little bit more of a clear house on the goal line as Relating Wave just puts it softly off the backboard, and Cash can't get there in time.
The defense from Oxygen looking bunched up. 2 players were in net on the goal line. One of them did find the save, and you're playing all this defense. But Rise says, hey, let me just take this by myself from the left side of the wall through every single player and do it all myself.
Joreus acted as a little screen, setting the pick and roll, and all of a sudden you got a 2-1 lead with a minute to go. Exactly 60 seconds on the clock. It's a kickoff win. Cash, 1v2, potentially, no boost. And here comes Ixo. Where does that one pinch? Right in front of the box. The Relating Wave doesn't have the look he wants. He'll fall off. And if you're Oxygen, you're probably not too stressed right now. Like, granted, the offense is pressing, but even here, you've handled it on 1v2 situations consistently. Nice bounce play from Joreus. Can't continue the read. Ixo can't find it.
Yeah, I think the one thing you're worried about if you're Oxygen, just staying organized. Other than that, it has been smooth sailing for them when they're finding positions like this from Archie. That's such a good interception. That's gonna water down a lot of these attacks from Quadrant. And even though they're playing so much defense, it hasn't been spooky for them. You're seeing moments where you're thinking, why aren't Quadrant, maybe going for a midfield pass here, a couple of basic shots on net. It's not enough to break through the defense, and 3 seconds left. Oxygen in control. Big clear down the other side. Double tap from Joreus. It's a good bounce, so maybe we see one for the road for Oxygen, or potential life for Quadrant, but it does hit the ground. And game 2, again, in favor of Oxygen.
I want to say it's surprising, but it's really not. Looking at how game 1 eventually ended, you saw Joreus and Rise upfield, not only spreading the defense thin, but throwing it off the backboard, playing through the corners, holding their boost and getting physical. Same situation here where Joreus was acting as a screen. You set that roll, Rise gets a shot. All of a sudden, you have a lead with 60 to play. And it felt very often in this game, too. Leaf, there just really wasn't much for Quadrant to work with offensively. And once the play broke down, they were struggling to get back on the defensive side of the field.
That's okay. They'll bring it back.
Is it okay? Is it really okay?
It's 100. Charlie, it's okay.
Okay. Okay. Sorry.
I like when we yell at him.
You can yell at me, but
I don't think I've ever done that before. I think, and
it's a lot of power.
If you're gonna yell at me, at least tell me what's going on.
Oh,
what's happening?
I'll let you know.
Come on.
It is. If it continues like this is going to be like we're speed running this round, because right now Carmine Court up 2-0, Sa up 2-0 over Solary. G1 up 2-0 over Moist. BDS up 2-0 over Tundra.
All right.
Liquid down 2-0 to, I don't know why I said it that way for them, but they're down 2-0 to Vitality. And then we have Oxygen now at 2-0 against Quadrant.
You know what it is? We had the British guy and then the funny accent man on before us. And now the Americans are here, all right? We're bringing it back. We have the American representation. And Joreus has the representation for Oxygen because it just keeps going.
Oh, you want the representation for how to play Rocket League? This is definitely it. You put some pressure on Relating Wave in the defensive side, forced to get the touch. It's out bouncing in front of their own net, and Joreus has the freest shot to the left side. 1-0 Oxygen continue their tear. And my word, it just seems like they are one step ahead every single time. You know, in the last game, they both made defensive mistakes, but the goal that stood out to all of us was, of course, that Rise dribble through 3 players. We're not seeing that same performance, that same star power, and now we're seeing a repeat 2-0 for Oxygen.
Where are you going? It's like when you walk by in your window shopping and somebody just smashes a chair through the window. Look at this. Like, what's happening? Ixo tried to get a quick peek, and Rise hits him over the head with a big old stool. Not going anywhere. 2-0. That's probably why you gotta be careful going outside.
Yeah. Painful one. Painful one.
Painful
that
one.
has been a theme for Quadrant. Pain. Pain so far. 2-0 in this game. They're 2 down in the series. The pressure still applied. There have been good looks. I don't want to take away from what we've seen from Quadrant, but they've got to start stringing things together soon, or it might be the end of their hopes for getting through with a bye in the playoffs.
You got to slow the bleeding here. You have to think. Knowing what's on the line, if you're Quadrant, granted, you're still currently sitting second in the group. That's a miss. And a follow-up goes nowhere. You're sitting dead even in game differential as well. You would love for this series to go 5 just to make it a headache for Oxygen, but I don't think that's going to happen the way this has been going. Quick cut down at midfield. Ixo has nowhere else to really go with this one. Cash was just kind of waiting with his hands in his pockets, and all of a sudden you have possession right back for Oxygen. Rise, extending it toward the adjacent corner, and all of a sudden the pressure continues. The boys in blue are pressing.
Yeah, but those were the mechanics needed from Ixo to try and put a Band-Aid over what is bleeding right now in their own half, but it's too much. They are suffocated. All the boost is getting taken. The speed, they're getting outclassed. Relating Wave can't really find the solid read, and how does Jorius even get a dunk in that situation?
It's very quickly become 3-0, and all of a sudden time is running away. Granted, a lot on the clock, but if you're Quadrant, something has to change, and it has to change now because it has not gone your way. And the midfield pressure, really, the entire series has been there for Oxygen.
Yeah.
Not been contested too much.
It's mostly just been relying on big clear spaceman downfield out of Quadrant. I think the last game was the best we've seen in terms of midfield presence, and this is not the best we've seen with Jorius on the defense. Another defensive blunder where this was a slow lob shot. He was just a little bit too forward.
Yeah, I want to chalk it up to nerves, but I don't think it is. Just let's make sure it's okay. Somebody sent him a nice tweet like, "We love you. We hope everything's all right," because that is 2 in a row.
Hey, I mean, they're still up 3-1. I don't think they're really stressed too much, to be honest.
Yeah, well, everybody's just sitting in front of the net. What is happening? What is happening on the goal line? It's finally out. I'm sorry for getting so loud. I apologize. It's just nobody was moving, and it freaked me out. It's like when you see like a person that's like, 99% human, but the 1%'s freaking you out. Like that's that. So, you ever seen that? They did studies on it. Wild stuff. Here we go. Back to the defensive side.
Spaceman.
Yeah.
Listen, I understand.
I was scared, man.
Sometimes you get scared. You're seeing this happen a lot in the game where there's everybody on the goal line. But look, these players, they'll relax, they'll calm down, they'll get it sorted, and they have indeed done that. But they have 2 goals to find. And now the boys in orange, the ball is in their court. They have to control this game. They have to get it out, find transitions, infiltrate the midfield more, and stop losing those challenges, because now you're faced with a 2v1, a bump play, and the lead increases.
I mean, that's a ridiculous win from Jorius. Quick rebound by Archie, and what do you do in this spot? Like, where do you go?
And
what happened?
Jorius has been the lead blocker. Was he the one in that Rise dribble? Jorius was the one trying to mess with the defense as well, huh?
For every defensive mistake that Jorius has made today, which has only been 2, he's immediately gone upfield as an enforcer role and cleared lane for Rise to finish the deal.
Yeah.
And again, you're going to mitigate your own mistakes by creating opportunities. That's the best way to do it. Jorius, more than happy to play as the second string at the moment. And you put something on the board. Still got plenty of time here for Quadrant, but it's felt like this game has just gone by so quickly.
Gone by so quickly, and that's because of the Oxygen performance that we have seen. Lights out, looking to make this 3-0, make quick work of Quadrant. And so far, so good. This is gonna confirm and guarantee a round 1 bye, which is huge. You don't have to continue playing for the rest of the day. You already make top 8, and it's smooth sailing from here. So long as Quadrant don't give you some signs of life.
You give Rise another day to rest.
Oh, that's it.
So awesome. Cash flows it through. So I think really maybe the only negative takeaway so far for Oxygen's gameplay has just been some of these defensive whips. But other than that, Ixo, beautiful touch. Joris can't get there in time. Cash still gets the follow-up goal. Regardless, 4-2. We got 61 seconds. Math.
I believe.
They can do it.
I believe. I want something crazy, all right? Across the board, as Leaf was saying just before we got into this game, there's been a lot of 2-0s, a lot of potential sweeps. I don't know if I'm ready for a sweep yet. I don't know if I can accept that just yet. I might have to, but I'm not ready. I'm not prepared to. And with 45, I want something crazy out of Quadrant. Now is your time to step it up and prove, why Spaceman and LeafX predicted you.
Do not put that out in the universe. That might be dangerous. Uh-oh, 30 seconds, though. Here's a chance. Beautiful bounce, but the dunk just not enough. Demon on the opposite side. Power play here. Oxygen should have no problem clearing. He'll get it around Cash. Ixo, next up, centers it. Cash following back. Leaves it to Ixo. Oh, my. Hold on. Oh, almost. Yeah, I was excited. 10 seconds ago. And with that, the waning minutes, or I should say seconds of this game are going by. That should do it, as Archie will clear it. And with that, we got a sweep. Didn't think I'd see it in this series.
Big sweep. I certainly didn't either. As much as I predicted and anticipated an Oxygen win, I thought it was going to be much closer, potentially a Game 5, given the record of these two teams and consistently making top 4, at least in the last regional event. But quick work for Oxygen Esports and a sweep to their name. LeafX, what is going on across the board?
Well, we didn't get all the sweeps that we were looking at.
Nope.
We did a couple though. We did get the Carmine Corp sweep over German Amigos, which I do believe throws them at the number 1 seed for Group A. I'll have to confirm that in a sec. And then we also have Suh completing a sweep over Solary, who was previously Solary had beat Carmine Corp today. So that group was a little bit wild. Then we do have a
what is that? So Solary reverse swept against KC and then lose to Suh.
Yes.
Oh my.
Granted, Suh went to Game 5 overtime with Carmine Court. So
okay. But it was a sweep. It didn't even keep it